Maya Evans had never imagined her life would shrink into a two-bedroom apartment with paper-thin walls and bills that always seemed to outweigh her paycheck. Yet here she was, 32, juggling a cafe manager's grueling hours, and raising her 8-year-old son, Lucas, on her own. Lucas was her son and her anchor, the reason she woke up at 4:30 a.m. to open the coffee shop and the reason she forced a smile for customers who barely noticed her. His father wasn't in the picture, and Maya had long ago stopped explaining why. All Lucas knew was that, Dad, wasn't someone they called. It was a Tuesday night when everything changed. Maya was rinsing dishes when Lucas, hunched over the couch in his pajamas, asked, "Mom, can I call my dad?" She froze, dishwater dripping from her hands. "We've talked about this, kiddo," she said gently. "It's complicated." Lucas looked down at the scrap of paper in his hand, a string of numbers he'd been copying from a school worksheet. "I just want to try," he mumbled. "Please." Maya's instinct was to say no, but something in his hopeful eyes stopped her. "One call," she said, drying her hands. "Then bed." She turned back to the sink, telling herself there was no harm. Whoever answered would probably just say, "Wrong number," and that would be that. Ring. "Hello." A man's voice, deep, confident, and startlingly familiar, came through the speaker. Lucas hesitated. Hi, are you, my dad?" The silence on the other end stretched. Then the man said, sharply, "Who is this?" "I'm Lucas," the boy replied. "My mom's name is Maya." Maya's stomach dropped. "Lucas, give me the phone." But the voice interrupted. "Maya, as in Maya Evans." She froze. Ethan. It was him. Ethan Cole. Not just a ghost from her past, but the Ethan Cole, now CEO of Cole Tech, a man who'd turned his father's failing company into a multi-billion-dollar empire. And the man she'd walked away from without telling him the truth. "Ethan, when exactly were you going to tell me?" He cut in, his voice low and dangerous. She glanced at Lucas, who was watching her with wide, confused eyes. "Lucas, honey, go to your room. Now. But, please." Her tone left no room for argument. He obeyed reluctantly, clutching his sketchbook as he disappeared down the hall. "I have a son, Maya," Ethan demanded once they were alone on the line. 8 years old, and I find out because he dials a wrong number. Her pulse hammered. "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. You kept him from me." "You don't understand," she said, her voice trembling. "When I found out I was pregnant, you were drowning in work. You were ruthless, obsessed. I knew your world, Ethan. I didn't want our child in it. That wasn't your choice to make. I made it anyway," she snapped, then lowered her voice. "And he's had a good life. I've done everything for him. And you think that excuses lying to me for almost a decade?" His voice hardened. "I'm going to see him, Maya. One way or another." She closed her eyes, a cold dread pooling in her stomach. "We'll talk later." And she hung up before he could say more. That night, she lay awake listening to the faint hum of the refrigerator, wondering if she'd just unleashed a storm she couldn't contain. Ethan wasn't just any man, he had the money, the influence, and the drive to bulldoze through anything in his way. If he wanted to find them, he would. She'd left him for a reason. Back then, Ethan's ambition had been like wildfire, it burned everything in its path. She'd been afraid that life with him would mean Lucas becoming just another item on his calendar, managed between board meetings. But there had been another reason, too, one she'd never spoken aloud, the last fight they'd had, the one that had made her walk away. Ethan had been furious about a failed deal, and in his rage, he'd said things, cruel, cutting things, that made her realize she couldn't risk raising a child in that kind of environment. So she'd disappeared. 3 days later, a sleek black sedan pulled up across from her apartment. Maya's breath caught when she saw him step out, tall, impeccably dressed, with the same sharp jawline and piercing gray eyes she remembered. He climbed the stairs with purpose and knocked. When she opened the door, he didn't waste time. "Where is he? You don't get to just show up," she said, blocking the doorway. "I missed 8 years of my son's life," he said evenly. "That ends now, Ethan." "Maya, please," he said, and the edge in his voice softened. "I'm not here to take him from you. I just need to meet him." "Mom, who's that?" Lucas's voice came from the hallway. Maya's heart twisted. She turned. "Lucas, this is Ethan. Your father." Lucas blinked, unsure, then stepped forward slowly. Ethan crouched so they were eye level. "Hi, Lucas. I've wanted to meet you for a very long time." Lucas tilted his head. "You don't look like a superhero." A faint smile crossed Ethan's lips. "Well, I guess I'll have to prove myself." They sat at the kitchen table, the air thick with unspoken things. Ethan asked Lucas about school, about his favorite subjects, about the stack of drawings piled beside him. "This one's Captain Fix-It," Lucas said, holding up a crayon drawing of a caped man repairing a broken bridge. Ethan glanced at Maya. "Sounds like someone I'd like to be." She looked away. When Lucas went to his room, Ethan's gaze sharpened again. "Why didn't you tell me?" She told him, about the endless nights he'd spent at the office, the way his temper had scared her that last time, the fear that Lucas would grow up feeling like an afterthought. "That was years ago," he said. "And I couldn't gamble on you changing," she replied. "I had to protect him." "I'm not that man anymore," Ethan said quietly. "I've built an empire, yes, but I've also learned what matters. And it's him. I'm going to be part of his life, Maya. Whether you believe me or not." She met his eyes. "Then prove it." In the weeks that followed, Ethan started showing up, at first for short visits, then longer ones. He took Lucas to the science museum. They built a model rocket in the park. He sat through an entire school play in a folding chair just to watch Lucas wave from the stage. Maya watched, wary but unable to ignore the way Lucas lit up around him. For years, her son had drawn heroes with capes and masks. Now he was drawing one in a business suit with gray eyes. One rainy afternoon, Lucas was sprawled on the couch watching a superhero movie. Ethan was beside him, his arm resting along the back of the cushions. Somewhere between the second act and the climactic battle, Lucas's head slipped onto Ethan's lap, and he fell asleep. Maya, standing in the kitchen doorway, felt something crack open inside her. When Ethan finally looked up and saw her, there was something raw in his expression. "I meant what I said, Maya," he murmured. "I'm not going anywhere." She swallowed hard. "I'm still not sure I can trust you." "Then let me earn it," he said. "One day at a time." The storm she'd feared hadn't come in the form of court papers or lawyers. It had come in the quiet persistence of a man who refused to be shut out again. And somewhere between the tense silences and the awkward first visits, something else had taken root, the possibility that the life she'd run from might not be the life he was offering now. But trust, once broken, is slow to rebuild. As she closed the door behind him that night, she wondered if letting Ethan back in was the bravest thing she'd ever done, or the most dangerous. And for the first time in years, she wasn't sure which she was hoping for. Maya Evans's apartment was small enough that she could hear the hum of the refrigerator from every room. On most nights, it was a comfort. Tonight, it felt like a reminder of everything she hadn't achieved. Her son, 8-year-old Lucas, sat curled up on the couch in worn pajamas, scribbling superheroes into his sketchbook. The coffee shop where she managed morning shifts had been slammed, and she still smelled faintly of espresso and burnt toast. She was halfway through sorting unpaid bills when Lucas spoke. "Mom, can I call my dad?" Maya's hands froze over the electricity bill. "We've talked about this," she said gently. "It's complicated." Lucas shifted uncomfortably. "I just want to try. Please." He held up a scrap of paper with numbers written in a messy scrawl. Maya frowned. Probably another of his detective games, piecing together numbers from magazines or random notes. She hesitated. What harm could it do? Whoever answered would just say wrong number, and that would be the end of it. "One call," she said, handing over her phone. Then bed. She turned back to the bills, only half listening as Lucas dialed. Ring. "Hello." A man's deep, steady voice answered. Lucas's voice faltered. Hi, are you, my dad?" Silence. Then the man said sharply, "Who is this?" "I'm Lucas," he replied. "My mom's name is Maya." Lucas. Maya spun around, heart pounding. "Give me the phone." But the man interrupted, his voice suddenly charged. "Maya, as in Maya Evans." Her breath caught. Ethan. It was him. Ethan Cole. Not just a name from her past, but the Ethan Cole, now CEO of Cole Tech, the billionaire who dominated business headlines. The man she'd loved once. The man she'd left without telling him the truth. When, his voice hardened, "Were you going to tell me?" She gripped the phone tighter. "This isn't. I have a son, Maya. 8 years old, And I find out because he calls a wrong number. Lucas stared at her, confused. Mom, who is that? Lucas, go to your room. Her tone was firm, but, now, he obeyed reluctantly, clutching his sketchbook to his chest. Back on the line, Ethan's voice was like steel. You've kept him from me for nearly a decade. I had my reasons, she said, her throat tight. Your life was, she stopped. It wasn't safe for him. That wasn't your choice to make. I made it anyway, she said sharply. And he's had a good life. Maya, I'm going to see him. You can agree to it, or I'll make it happen. Her pulse quickened. She knew Ethan. When he wanted something, he got it. And right now, he wanted their son. Think about it, she said, and hung up before she lost her nerve. That night, she lay awake, replaying their last months together. The long nights at his office. The ruthless business deals. That last fight, his temper sharp as glass, and her sudden, absolute certainty that she couldn't raise a child in his world. She'd been sure she was doing the right thing. Until now. Part 2, the meeting. 3 days later, Maya spotted a sleek black sedan parked across the street. Her heart sank. There was a knock. She opened the door to find him, taller than she remembered, his tailored suit immaculate, gray eyes locked on hers. Where is he? Ethan said. You can't just. I missed 8 years, he said, voice low but unyielding. That ends now. Ethan, Maya, please. The sharpness softened, replaced by something raw. I just want to meet him. Mom, who's that? Lucas's voice came from the hallway. Maya's chest tightened. Lucas, this is Ethan. Your father. Lucas's eyes widened. He stepped forward slowly. Ethan crouched to meet him. Hi, Lucas. I've wanted to meet you for a long time. You don't look like a superhero, Lucas said cautiously. Ethan smiled faintly. Then I guess I'll have to prove myself. They sat at the kitchen table, the air thick with unspoken history. Ethan asked about school, about Lucas's favorite subjects. Lucas brought out his drawings, flipping to one of a caped figure repairing a broken bridge. This is Captain Fix-It, Lucas explained. Ethan's gaze flicked to Maya. Sounds like someone I'd like to be. When Lucas went to his room, Ethan's expression hardened again. Why didn't you tell me? Maya's voice was quiet but firm. Because when I left, you were consumed by work. Your world was ruthless. I didn't want our child in it. I'm not that man anymore, he said. I'm going to be part of his life. I'm not asking. She met his eyes. Then prove you've changed. Over the next weeks, Ethan did just that. He picked Lucas up from school. They visited the science museum. They built a rocket and launched it in the park. Slowly, Lucas began to lean on him, laughing more freely, asking when his dad was coming over again. One rainy afternoon, Maya found them on the couch, watching an old superhero movie. Lucas had fallen asleep with his head in Ethan's lap. Ethan looked up, something vulnerable in his eyes. I meant what I said. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still not sure I can trust you, she admitted. Then let me earn it, he said. One day at a time. The man she'd feared would bulldoze through her life wasn't here to take, not yet, anyway. But he was here to stay. And for the first time in years, Maya wondered if letting him back in might not destroy them, but save them.